Global Kid Media. Got the champions on.
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How's everything going?
Everything's going well.
I'm glad to hear that.
How are
Is
you doing?
everyone doing good? How's your family doing?
Yeah, everyone's doing well here
That's
for the most part. We're enjoying life. I just got finished with our basketball workouts. Guys were working out today, so enjoy it. Another good workout from the guys. It's our second day, um, so they're excited about being in the gym. We're excited about having them in the gym. So it's been good. It was good though.
that's good to hear. That's great to hear.
Yeah. I know we've been planning this for a minute, and I've kind of been following you for a hot second. Um, you you've been doing great things as far as exposure for Global Kid Media, which um, I see you follow a lot of people. When do you have time to do anything else? Because I see you're jumping on a lot of IG lives and you're following a lot of people, and then you have your own shows. So when do you find time to do anything else?
Man, I've been grinding. So basically, right now, school just ended about 2 weeks ago. So I've been working on global kid media mostly these past 2 weeks, and I started football practice on Friday of last week. So I'm playing quarterback for my football team now. So at about 2 or 3 hours, I'll be off to football practice. That's pretty much doing that, coming home, doing a little bit of drill work, and then mostly focusing on global kid media. Other than that, so been exercising, but when school's there, then that's really when it gets hectic. But right now, can focus a little bit more on this.
That's interesting. I didn't know you're
Yeah,
a football player um, and a
sure.
quarterback. Now, what grade are you in?
I'm going into ninth grade.
Going in ninth?
Yes, sir.
That's good. So, have you been playing quarterback for quite some time, or are you this like your first years?
So I've always been somewhat a quarterback. I've played either a backup quarterback or been a receiver who, if there's a run play, they kind of go to me for the throw. But otherwise, when I was little, I used to play a lot of quarterback. Then I transitioned into wide receiver for my middle school seasons, and I felt like I'm more fit at quarterback, so I'm back there now and working on that.
That's that's interesting. You gotta send me some video. I want to see. I want to see. Now, how do you say your name?
Vedant,
Vedant.
Vedant, yeah,
Vedant.
yeah, you got it.
Last name
Gupta.
Gupta. All right,
Yeah,
Vedant Gupta. I just go by
perfect.
Global Kid Media.
Yes, sir.
But that's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
I definitely need to send me some film. I want to see you playing quarterback because I
Yeah, as
just
soon as the season starts, I'll send you some film of some of my plays and what I've been doing on the field.
I just didn't imagine you playing football. I mean, yeah, I thought you might. I didn't know. I imagine you playing any sport, um, but that's why it's good to talk to people because sometimes you just don't know what their interests are, and you can always judge a book by its cover.
Much like you, I play a lot of sports. So I play football season right now. Then I'm going to transition into at high school. It's a little bit different, but at middle school it would be basketball or wrestling or swimming, and then after that, probably track or baseball, one of those sports. So I play pretty much everything.
Man, this is pretty interesting. I'm excited
I'm excited as well.
about getting a chance to talk to the man, Global Kid Media. As I said, I know you've been following me all the IG lives that I've done, and you have some very interesting questions during some of our talks. And so I'll just, I don't mind answering a few questions, and then we'll kind of go back and forth because now that we kind of got a chance to I'm sure those who follow you know you well, and what you kind of what you do and what you're about. But I was just, I answering the questions that you may have because, like I said, I know you've asked some great questions when we were doing some of the IG lives that I've been a part of.
For sure. So, first of all, I mean, you're a very versatile athlete. Obviously, we know your football and basketball side, but maybe what a lot of people don't know is your baseball side or your tennis side as well. I mean, playing so many different sports, what was it the most that you found really correlated to every single sport from one sport to another?
Well, one of the things that I was able to that I was able to help me make things a lot easier as far as sports was concerned was hand-eye coordination, and so being coordinated in that form made sports come a lot easier. And so that is the reason why whether it's kickball, stick ball, we play stick ball. You probably don't understand or know what that is, but we play stick ball. We made up games. Anything we did when it came to being an athlete, coordination. I was able to do that relatively easy. I struggled in the classroom mainly because I probably didn't put my mind to it, and I wanted to go outside and play like most boys. But I had to understand that my academics had to come first, and it was a challenge because I wasn't focused on that aspect. But once I got onto a field of some sort and the ball was involved, um, it was a lot. It was something I enjoy doing, and so that's how I enjoyed all the sports. Is because it was something that came easy. And as we know, when something comes easy to you, you don't mind doing it all the time. And so that's the
Yeah.
reason why, one of the reasons why my book, The Athlete, it's called The Athlete because that's what I wanted to do and wanted to be for quite some time. Um, and God gave me that ability to do it.
I'll tell you on my educational journey. So I'm a couple years ahead in school, and it's not because I was a genius or I was really smart and testing out of stuff. It was because my parents took a different approach with me and my sister. They had us do online school. My sister's a little bit smarter than I am. I'm actually a little bit like you. Sometimes I struggle with the grades as far as that goes, but I challenge myself and I try my best in the classroom, although I am a lot of times thinking about what I'm going to do next when I'm doing global media about sports. So I was able to take a different journey, and my parents have been really tough on me. I want to ask you this. It's Father's Day week right now, and there's some fathers who are very, very loving on their kids. They compliment them a lot. I know you have kids. My dad's kind of the opposite. He doesn't like to compliment me in front of me, and he's always on me, tough on me like a coach with everything I do. So on Father's Day here, because it's a theme, what are you like with your kids, and what's the biggest thing that you tell them?
Well, my dad was tough on me as well. Um, he he's very similar to your dad when it came to compliments, and there were less compliments and more life lessons, and so that were being taught. And so I got used to them. They were very challenging, but when it was all said and done, very encouraging, helping me along and understanding. It definitely helped build mental toughness and humility because I had to continue to keep rising higher. And, sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not, depending upon, how much pressure you get pushed to do certain things to go to a certain level. And it may not ever be good enough. But I think he didn't really push me. I pushed myself from an athletic standpoint because I enjoyed it. My mom pushed me more from an academic standpoint because I didn't like doing that, and she had to make me do certain things. So that was more of the challenge was just from an academic standpoint. because, if I messed up in the game, and my dad got on me, he was hard and those types of things, but I enjoyed doing that. And so it wasn't like a grind if I got talked about or, put down or encouraged or whatever the case may be, it wasn't a big deal because it was easy. I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
And so that was my upbringing. And I'm pretty much the opposite of my dad in some form of fashion with my kids because I'll encourage them to do things that they want to do. But when it came to sports, I let them. I just let them do what they wanted to do because I didn't want them to say you're pushing me towards something that you want to do
Yeah.
or what you did well. And so it's a different approach. It's very similar to if, let's say, your dad is in computers and you're not interested in computers, but he wants to push you into computers and what he wants to do. And so at some point in time, you're going to get burned out and you're going to go the opposite direction more than likely. So I just allow my kids, if they're interested in the sport, to we'll push them in a certain area because we know movement, activity, being involved. We know what sports does for a kid. But when it comes to doing extra, I'm just one, I'll help them. But if they don't have that drive within themselves to go out and do extra, then I let them be. Because I don't want them saying, well, Dad, that was your dream. That's something you did, and I don't want to do it. And so, and I know my wife, um, she's pushed our daughter, who's a violist, and that push definitely has helped her in a lot of ways. She went on a streak where I think she practiced every single day for like 3 or 4 years, or maybe longer than that, and that was like every single day, even if it was for a short period of time. And now she started out at one place, and now she's at another level. Now that she's been going for maybe 5 years or so, and so she's now teaching the viola to younger kids. And so I just encourage them to have inner drive. And if you have an inner drive, I'll help you from an athletic standpoint.
Wow. Wow. See, I see with my dad, I mean, I'm sure what he does sometimes it motivates me to be a little bit better. And I'd always think about maybe if he wasn't so tough, what would that turn out with? But I think in my example, I wouldn't be doing what I was doing if he didn't push me as well. And he's always, I mean, obviously traveling with me, driving me wherever I need to go. So that's important. And I think about when I'm with my kids, what would I do? Would I be the same exact way? I'm 13 years old right now, but by the time in 15 years when I have kids, it's probably going to be a whole nother story. So always interesting to see both of those perspectives.
Yes, it definitely will be a different perspective. But I'll just say this. When I was coming up as a kid, one of the things that I'm sure a lot of people on here said the same thing. If whatever it was my parents were doing or saying, I was like, man, I'm not gonna treat them that way or say that. And lo and behold, I am a spitting image of my dad. and so and so, like a lot of the mannerisms, the way he says things, um, I mean, I'm just him. And so I just think they say the fruit don't fall far from the tree. That's true because we are who we are, you know, who we're around the most, and so a lot of things we have to try to work through and create our own, navigate our own way through life. But when it's all said and done, you're going to end up going back to the values that your parents have taught you. I know I'm a Christian, and so no matter how far you try to stray to the left or to the right, you normally go back. Um, and so that's because that's just that seed that's been planted in you. And so it's just, I think even though the times may change, things may change, the values don't change. And so I think that's something that I think you'll probably have once you start having kids, is you have those values. I'm curious to know. I know you have global kid media. Um, you know, what are your thoughts on why did you start Global Kid Media?
I'll tell you what, I always wanted to find a way since I was a little kid to inspire millions of kids that they could do anything they wanted. I always thought that in school we learn, you grow up, you get your degree, you move on, and then that's when you can start doing what you love, or you go down the path, the traditional path of getting through school before you start doing things. And in a lot of cases, there's different jobs that you can do that you don't have to wait until that age. I mean, entrepreneurship, there's so many different things you can do. It started off with me being in speech competitions as a third or fourth grader, competing against middle schoolers and high schoolers and winning. And I said, okay, I have a skill for communication. How am I going to impact the world with that? I thought I would get on the speaking circuit, do something with that route, and try to inspire, which, I mean, I'm still aspiring to do one day, is get on that speaking circuit. Media came along. There was an opportunity to apply for Sports Illustrated for Kids. So I said, okay, I'm going to do something nobody else has ever done before. I applied for the NCAA tournament, making it clear that, I wasn't yet with Sports Illustrated for Kids. I was just applying for them. And I got access through Michigan State, covered the tournament, did about 100 interviews, and Sports Illustrated for Kids declined my application. They said, we're shocked, nobody's ever done this before. At that point, I was like, okay, I can go back to trying to do something on the speaking circuit or start my own company, Global Kid Media, and do something that's never been done before, which is have a visible kid on the sideline or in the sports industry as a reporter. And the past 2 years, I've been working for exactly that. The long-term goal for me isn't necessarily in media. The long-term goal, I'd like to be a business or media executive, like I said, speaking and doing inspirational things like that. But the short-term goal is definitely to inspire through media.
Well, that's a good goal. I mean, I always talk to people about, preparation. And, that's like the first P of my three Ps. And, everything that we're doing is preparing us for something. And so when you have a goal in mind, all the things that you're doing is preparing you for something. And so when you have a goal in mind, you can start lining up the things to help you get to that goal. And
Exactly.
so that's all the preparation, part of it. And so, I'm inspired because at 13, I wasn't even thinking about no business. I was thinking about trying to, play sports,
Yeah.
or make it to the next grade. And so, it's just encouraging to see, because times have changed. And even during my time, I'm sure there were some people just like you. Of course, we didn't have social media at that time. You kind of ahead of the game
Yeah.
in that respect. But it'll be interesting. I know we have Makita. I think Makita's on the line, and one of the things you mentioned was about pitching her something about Nickelodeon. What was that about?
So right, Nickelodeon is doing some playoff games with the NFL next season, right? So they're gonna have a kid cast covering that game, and I thought, I'm thinking they're probably gonna end up having some of their actors and actresses from their shows covering that. But I was like, I've done these thousands of interviews, and I feel qualified to be able to cover that as a sideline reporter in some aspect of that. So I'm trying to hook up with Nickelodeon to get that set up, and I feel like I'm qualified to do it.
Well, hopefully we can get Makita to pull some strings for you to be able to get you on that deal on that team. Um, I'm curious to know. I know you're getting ready to go to high school, correct? Ninth grade.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? What are you doing, or do you all have a media outlet at your school? Because one of the things, just to share one of the visions I have, and if someone wants to support it, I'll be grateful for it. I've had this vision of starting a sports academy at a regular school, and eventually, what the sports academy is all the sports that we have at the schools. all of them. There's some form of other presence outside of the actual competition. And so you got media, you got administration, sports, you got marketing, you have lawn care. There are a lot of aspects outside of just the actual game or participation that goes into all those all those sports. And I've always had this dream of having a a sports marketing uh, academy or class, to where that class is responsible for all the marketing of the sports teams. So they go out, they solicit, and it is all preparation for moving on. And so it'll be more of a 11th 12th grade curriculum, but it's all centered around sports. So for media, there's been an opportunity for all the kids, students in media to cover all the games, sports information, learning that aspect of it. And so, and then lawn care, you know, understanding how grass grows, growing grass, you know, soccer, football, all the outdoor sports, baseball, softball, all those sports need great lawn, you know, lawn care. And so that's an opportunity for someone who may want to go in that field to learn how to do that part of it. And so it's just all the things centered around sports. And that way the coaches is basically like a college model, but it's preparing young people for their next journey in life.
So at my school, we have like a little bit of, even at the middle school, they had this where there's a program where a couple of kids, a class of kids cover the events, and they kind of just go through it's kind of just a class announcements at the beginning of class, where they have it set up though, like a full TV booth would have it set up, and they have their 20-minute announcements, I believe it is, and they talk about all these different things, but it's not as deep as what you're mentioning. So if I can help in any way getting that started in my school, I feel like that's huge, because when they're teaching you about these technical things, I mean, obviously that's important, but they're so, I feel like, at least for the middle school program, they're kind of focused on just getting it done versus actually learning some things. So I'll be happy to pitch that to my school and see what I can do with that, because I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's something I've been wanting to do. Just hadn't had the funding to make it happen. But I've seen it in bits and pieces. I have a buddy of mine, Randy Young, at my alma mater, my high school alma mater. He runs the digital um, media for their school, and he has a setup similar to what I just talked about in just that respect. You know, covering the games, you know, the TV station. He runs all the digital stuff at the school. And so, but there's no the other aspect of it that I'm talking about is kind of missing. But I just think it's something that, since I'm a sports guy, it's a great way for kids or students to be able to move on from just the regular calculus, you know, your normal classes that you would normally have, and start using some of those equations in regular time.
As far as the funding and the equipment goes, I mean, I know at my school they have all the teleprompters, all the cameras, all of, as far as the equipment goes, all of that stuff. So I feel like at that point it would just be kind of coming up with a curriculum for them to follow. So we got to get that started, got to get that kicked off, and we'll get that started.
Well, I mean, if you're interested, I can ask my man Randy Young to send us his curriculum to be able to send to you. And if you have all those things already in place, they may already have a curriculum, because I know he starts with ninth graders, and it's tiered. So once you get to like 11th and 12th grade, you have a bigger job. But in ninth grade, you're kind of going through the book, learning, all the different aspects. And then 10th grade, you start venturing out, doing some different things, different committees, covering certain sports and just, doing certain things from that respect. And then 11th and 12th grade, you kind of get more into the administrative type roles or whatever, advancement roles. And so it's a tiered process, but it's great curriculum for kids, because some kids, I know one of the things he's mentioned is some kids, the only reason they come to school is for that program. They they can care less about going to the other classes,
Mm.
and the only reason they come to school is for that program. And so that's it's a form of a trade, but it's something that can definitely happen in an academic setting, for sure.
And one thing I wanted to mention really quickly is a lot of times in the education side, there's a lot of bureaucracy, I guess you could say. There's a lot of obstacles that they like to put in your way. I mean, I can tell you about in my sister's journey, she was ahead in classes and the school tried to hold her back, I'm sure, for um, uh, just money reasons and things like that. So holding a student back versus letting them actually learn based on those little things. So we'll have to get through that. I know there's another school that my school is in touch with. Um, it's a career institute where they have a bunch of different programs based on a career that different kids want to follow. So this would be perfect for that, and I'll look into that for you. One
Cool.
thing I also wanted, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about, I see when you're talking, I mean, what I love about you is how calm and in control you are when you talk. It's truly amazing the kind of poise that you have. You went through a stroke a year and a half, 2 years ago, and to be able to overcome that, to be able to get through that, it takes some real inspiration to be able to do that. How have you done that? And what advice can you give to other people who are going through tough times like that?
Uh, well, the stroke was definitely something that I wasn't expecting, but I'm grateful that I had um, the stroke at that specific time in that specific place for this reason. I was on a mission trip, which was good. I was doing, working to do great things. But I've done that mission trip. I think that was my second year doing a mission trip. The first year, my wife didn't come. I was there with our son and one of our football players. And the second year, first year, everything was fine. Second year, uh, my wife Tanja, our daughter Hope went, and that was the year that I had the stroke. And so, without my wife being there would have been someone else having to take care of me. One, two, she navigated all the things. Call our doctor friend, who's our pastor here, Dr. Stowers. Call him to ask him what should happen, and so she was able to navigate all the way through. And of course, she was there with me the whole time, because the crazy part about it is, and God was definitely all in the mix. I had to get across the border, and because we were in Mexico, and God orchestrated all the doctors, all the tests that I needed to be able to get across the border. And then we had an ambulance, that was weaving in and out of traffic. It was like an hour and a half trip that we made in like an hour, some change. And so, and then the whole time, I was having to pee because I was on the IV. Go figure. It was tough. Um, and but when I got there, I was grateful that I had Tanja there, because she was able to, like I said, she was able to navigate and talk to the doctors and everything while I was going through this situation. But the crazy part about it again was, we were there for maybe three or 4 days in the hospital. Put me in a stroke unit. I was there for like 3 or 4 days. And the blessing about all of that was we were in San Diego, and fortunate for us, our godson's family lived in San Diego. And so after I was, they let me out of the hospital. We ended up going back there and hanging out for the next couple of days until our daughter and the group came back. And I was able to fly back to Tallahassee. And it was frightening. It was a frightening deal, but God orchestrated everything, and because He had all the steps right there in place and all the people in place to be able to make it an easier journey. But since that time, we ended up going to Dr. Montgomery. I'm not sure if I think you were on when I talked to him, but he's a cardiologist in Houston. We were friends with him in Houston. And so I went there. That was my initial cardiologist, and he put me on a raw food diet, which was very, very tough. I was grateful for my wife again. She kind of went through that 4-week raw food diet with me, cooking meals. We all prepared meals, and it was a detoxification in a sense, because with the stroke, they weren't really sure what was going on, and I had taken some tests. But one of the things he knew was if I changed my diet, and plus I hadn't been working out like I should have been. I had stopped working out. I got burned out. I got burned out from my 20 years of sports, and I stopped working out. But once I got finished with the raw food diet, then I started plant-based, and since that time, I've been doing well. I've had a PFO closure, like a year after that, or last year. I got my PFO closure, so I got a heart device in to be able to that closed up a hole that was in my heart from birth. That happened from birth, and so my primary care thought that may have been the issue on how the stroke got up to my brain. And so that was done. And so it was a very eye-opening experience. And one of my biggest fears, and I keep praying through this, is that it's going to happen again. But I know that I've been doing all the necessary things between eating properly, exercising, and hopefully and praying that everything goes well with it. But I haven't had any setbacks with it. But I do know that God has definitely orchestrated me through that time, and spared my life for a reason. And I want to make sure that I share it with everyone, that it's important to take care of your health. All the things that we're going through today, sometimes there's somebody out there saying, man, I just wish I would have life, and I need to make sure I'm taking care of my body, doing necessary things so that I can enjoy life. And so, I've heard this saying before quite some time, that I'm going to eat what I want to eat right now. I don't care about later, having, having, my life being, being free from, sickness later. So I'm going to just do what I want to do now, eat whatever I want to eat. Well, we may not get to later. And so I just want to make sure I'm doing everything possible in that respect, so that I can enjoy life now and I can enjoy life later, because I had both of my grandparents lived to be 93. My grandmothers lived to be 93. Of course, they came up in a different era, and they were eating fruits and vegetables and all those types of things when they were growing up. And they also had home remedies when it came to, just the different things that they were doing for sickness. And so hopefully, my dad is 80. My mom's like 77, I think. And so we have longevity in our family. And we just got to make sure that I get there.
Yeah, my grandfather's 78, I believe, and he was going to the gym every day before the coronavirus hit. So it's always good to stay active, always good to stay healthy. You speak of the life lessons and the life decisions that we have to make in life. I always say there's no regrets. Whatever you do, there's no regrets in anything. But there's always times when you think, I wish I would have handled this differently, or what could have happened had I not done this? What could have became of this situation? Is there anything when you look back where you thought of what could have been had I done this?
I was just thinking about this today, and I was hoping someone would ask me. But um, one of the things, I know we don't live in regrets, but the more we mature, the more we mature, the more we start to understand things. And one of the things that I look back on my life and I wish I would do differently was I wish I would have been a virgin until I got married. And, I was a Christian growing up, and I wasn't really taught about the biblical principles of relationship and how it all goes into, being one. And I think that's something that I wish I regret, because I've seen people's lives change uh, from having sex. And so that's something that when I look back, I was like, man, I wish I could have mastered that part of my life. But of course, as you said, everything that happens for a reason. It helps you, help shape, help you to help someone else. And so I just want to, just say I wish, there are kids, there are people who aren't married, um, lives are changed because of premarital sex. And so I just wish that was something I would have been able to do, um, because I think there's benefits to that.
Okay. Okay.
Is that something that's probably what you were looking for?
Uh,
you, you
yeah.
look you look stunned.
Yeah, I was more so. I mean, hey, I asked a question, I got a response. That's what
What were you looking for?
I was more so talking about. You look at the decision of how many sports you could have played. Like there was basketball, obviously, and football, but then there was also. I mean, I know you were pretty good at baseball. You were pretty good at tennis. Were there any of those where at any point in your career you thought maybe I could have gone into that? Maybe for just a little bit of time towards the end of your career, you could have played a couple of years in one of those sports.
No, I mean once I made a decision to play. I made a decision to play basketball my senior year at Florida State. When I made that decision, I knew I was giving myself an option to either play in the NFL, which was very slim because I wasn't 100% committed, and an option to play in the NBA, which that at least opened the door when I played basketball my senior year. And they had the second draft, and so uh, I don't regret that decision at all, because as we all know, when we make decisions, we have to think them through. And those who know me, I take my time in certain decisions that I make. And so I made a decision, and I knew the ramifications of the consequences of doing it, because I knew that I wouldn't be probably a first round pick, taking the route that I chose to play my senior year of basketball, and I was accurate, and and it was um, it was a tough decision in some respect, but it was definitely calculated. I counted the cost when I made that decision, and God just honored my heart because He knew I wanted to be a senior captain on the basketball team, and I didn't want to give up my senior year of basketball to focus on football when they told me that I was going to be a third or fourth round draft pick at that time. And so I made a decision and I had to live with it. I knew once the draft came around that I wasn't going to get drafted more than likely. And if I didn't get drafted, I'd already made up in my mind that that was okay. You know, that's just, I put myself in that position and it was okay. And it fueled me, as many people know, it fueled me to continue to work harder on, for basketball, because I had all the combines coming up, individual team workouts, and my whole goal through that process was just to play even with guys who play basketball year round. And God honored my work, because every combine I went to, my teams were successful. Every workout that I went to, I was able to compete and play against guys some were already in the league, and I was able to compete with those guys. And so that gave me an opportunity to show that I was capable. If I spent more time playing basketball, that I could be a pretty good basketball player in the league. And so the Knicks gave me an opportunity. They saw upside, and I'm grateful for it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, I was actually talking yesterday to an athlete who's committed to Purdue. He's ready to start his freshman season there, playing both football and basketball for Purdue. I like to talk about advice. What advice would you give someone young like that who's doing something not many people have done, and what his take on that should be? What advice would you give him?
Well, in this day and age, it's going to be really tough, because at some point in time, he's going to have to make a decision. Or in my case, I didn't make a decision. I just continued to play because I enjoyed playing. I was an athlete. And so I enjoyed both sports. Really, to be honest with you, I enjoy sports, but playing two major sports, basketball and football, there's a lot of perks to the deal. So you got to travel, you got a lot of gear, you got per diem, and what's best for a college kid to get all those things, and then you got notoriety because you were playing on one of the top teams, and so I was like in heaven, in college. So I enjoyed my time playing both sports. Had great teammates, of course. But my advice would be, at some point in time, he's going to have to make a decision, or he's going to have to understand that if he doesn't make a decision, he's leaving his options open for both sports or whatever those sports are. And just like Kyler Murray, he played baseball and football, and he got drafted, of course, in the first round in both. And so he had to make a decision. Baseball is a little easier to play than basketball and football. And so I just think you have to make a decision at some point to decide what he wants to do, because football is not going to wait on him. And then basketball is to a certain level now to where if you don't focus on it, you're going to be way behind.
Right. And this young man by the way, I didn't say his name, is Malik Carr. So committed to Purdue. He's going to be playing his freshman season in football and then continuing on to basketball. So
What position?
He's a receiver in football.
And what position is he playing basketball? How tall is he?
He's, I believe, 6'7", 6'8", so he's on the taller end.
Oh, he's a big. Now, yeah. One of the things that's been happening is guys who play basketball. They hadn't played football, probably since high school, and they went to college, got a scholarship in basketball, and they may have been around 6'7", 6'8". They played 4 years of basketball, and they end up going and playing in the NFL. And so now that trend has happened. So maybe he can, go in that that model. But if more than likely, if he's on a football scholarship, he's playing. His secondary sport is basketball. Is he on a football scholarship?
I believe he had more offers for football. I'm not sure about if he's what scholarship he's on, but I know I believe, had more offers as far as football goes than basketball.
So, now who is Sports List Bondant?
That's my other account. That's my dad. So he's telling me about everyone go check out the show yesterday if you want to see the full interview with him.
Okay. Well, I appreciate. Hi, Dad. You're doing a great job. Mom as well.
Yeah, yeah. My mom. I don't know if she's going to be watching this, but she's here somewhere.
Well, this is awesome.
Most definitely.
Now,
No,
you say you're swimming?
I last year, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the 8th grade team for basketball, and so swimming is another option. I like to swim as well. I'm actually a little bit better at swimming, so I joined the swim team that year, and I was able to be a little bit more competitive in swimming than I think I would have been in basketball. In 7th grade, I played basketball, but 8th grade ended up on the swim team, so I've been working a little bit harder. Hopefully, for the 9th grade team, I'll be back at basketball.
Well, that's good. Well, all the best to you, and all the things that you're doing. And I'm glad that we got an opportunity to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one more thing I wanted to ask you about. I normally like to do some fun segments with my guests, make it a little bit loose, do some fun things. So I thought playing both basketball and football, there's probably some ladder drills that you do for both of the sports, or even baseball or tennis as well. So I have my ladder here. If you want, we can do some. You can show me one quick 30-second drill on the ladder, and we can quickly do something.
You know how to do the Icky Shuffle?
Well, what does that look like?
That's where you're going. You're going across the ladder. So you're going 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Okay. Let me try to set it up and see if I can get that.
So you're going laterally, and you're going 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you're going all the way across.
Okay. Let's see here. So you said 1 foot in.
1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Like
No,
that?
don't cross over. Lead with your left foot.
So
the left foot's gonna go out. 1 foot in. Left foot's gonna go out. The right foot's gonna come in.
okay.
Nope. Across. You're gonna go across.
So you're saying right foot in.
Left foot. Put your left foot in. Now take your left foot out. No, you're going lateral. You're gonna face the window. So now you're going right foot in, right foot out. Then your left foot's gonna follow it. Right foot in, right foot out. Bring your left foot in.
Okay.
You're gonna stay lateral. You're gonna stay facing the window.
And then right foot out.
Nope, don't cross over. Your right foot's gonna go in the middle, and then your left foot's gonna follow it, and then the right foot's gonna go outside. You're never gonna cross over. Nope, that's a crossover. Don't cross your feet.
So like.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. Right there. I think you were driving me, man.
Yeah, I was a little bit. I've done that drill a couple of times, so let me go full speed here.
There you go. Yeah, you putting on for the people, man.
All right. That's a good one. I use that one. At first I was I never knew it was called that, so I was a little bit confused. I apologize about that.
Yeah, that's the Ickes Shuffle.
All right. Well, there we go. We got everything pretty much covered here today. One thing I wanted to say, I mean, we've seen some of these Charlie Ward shows go viral. You played a lot of different sports. One sport you haven't covered is hockey. So let's make an announcement today. Charlie Ward to the NHL.
No. I can. I tried to ice skate, and that's comical. So
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to ice skate with the guys and try to hit a puck with a stick. That's definitely not happening. But I'm
Okay.
sure they have some special skates. But I think that blade is too thin for me to stand up on.
All right. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe there's another sport one day that we can get you into.
Uh, yes, but ice skating, ice hockey, that's not one.
How about golf?
I can do that part. That's
Okay.
easy. That's easier for me.
All right. All right. We'll see about that. In my journey, I can say for sure, and in any good journey, it's obviously important what you know, but it's sometimes more important who you know and the connections that you have to help you get to the next level. I mean, I've talked to hundreds of NFL and NBA athletes, but it's normally a one and done talk, and then we never really connect again and make a relationship. So even with this call right here, we've done a great interview, and I'd like to stay in touch and go forward and work on some projects. What advice do you have for me to be able to build connections and really build a relationship with these people after I meet them?
Um, I don't know. Well, I think it's finding your lane. So, uh, you know, one of the things, a connection that you can make is with Makita, Miss Makita. And so I know she's on here and she's, you know, I think she's open to hearing. That's something that, staying connected with people because you never know where it may lead. It may be a one and done type deal, but uh, if you meet more people, there's more opportunities, to
Yeah.
have a connection where it sticks and someone can can mentor you. Because just like my buddy Reggie Wright, who's the law enforcement officer that I talked to, I think it was last week.
Yeah.
He's just out of the blue. I met him at one of the games and we connected. We had things in common, sports, and we started a friendship, and it became something bigger. And so, the more connections you have, the more people you talk to, the more people you share your vision with, more people see your heart. They'll want to help you. And so, I think you won't have a problem with finding the right person, finding the right mentor, because you have the right goals. And so I think that's something, Global Kid Media will probably, start to take off because of the connections that you've made. And so I think it's something you should continue to, focus on and reach out to, the people that, are willing to help you. And so, I'm looking forward to just seeing, probably more than likely seeing you on, at the Super Bowl or covering, a game. But I would start covering my team sport. If you're on the freshman team, I would ask them if I can cover the varsity team. During their games, just so you can start getting some live interviews and those types of things. So sometimes you can start preparing yourself where you are, which you've done a great job. Um, but you can start right there at your school, starting doing those interviews. Sometimes, that's where you can get your training. And then once you get that big opportunity, you'll be ready to go. You've been worked out all the mistakes and those types of things. And so, connections are great, but also, get you some film. You're doing a great job with your, IGs and your interviews, but start getting you some more film, doing some other things that you want to do. and someone to pick it up. Even if some of the connections that you make, may not have something at the time, but if you have some video of you doing certain things, interviewing guys after games, football, basketball, whatever it may be, um, then that way you can start getting some footage out there and people start noticing, well, maybe a 13-year-old can, be on the sideline and doing some sideline reporting. So, kind of start where you are. And if some of these big connections work out at Nickelodeon, Sports Illustrator, those things work out, at least you've had some great practice, leading up to that time.
Of course, and I mean, Makita's been very, very encouraging of me. She's been on some of my lives, commenting some very inspirational things. So we'll work with her. We'll work with you. Hopefully, down the road, we'll have both of you on my show again, and we'll do a talk like this again. It's all about those, like you said, it's all about those connections. And so I appreciate you having me on. And as far as like the real world experience goes, it's always helpful, like you said, to cover high school games. I got exposure at the Pro Bowl last year in 2019, where I talked to probably someone you know well, Mr. Deion Sanders, there at the Pro Bowl, and hoping to get him back on my show with the whole thing he's doing with his primetime network. But just getting reps has been important.
The more reps, the better. It's no matter what the field is. And so I look forward to seeing you on ESPN or one of these major markets one day, doing some sideline reporting or sitting up at the desk giving us our
Hopefully soon.
news, our sports news.
Hopefully soon. We'll see about that. Maybe we can get you on that side as well. Have you on the desk with me.
Uh, I won't say never, but I never know.
Of course. Well, listen, I appreciate you having me on. We had a great talk today. Love what you're doing. You're very inspirational. So keep doing what you're doing. And once again, I thank you for giving me a chance to come on your show today.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. And, I know you've been on a long time. We finally were able to connect. And happy Father's Day to your father and all the fathers out there. I know I'll be back on Thursday. I'm talking with my man, John Finkel. John wrote my book, and he's a great guy. And looking forward to catching up with him as well.
Yeah, that'll be great. I look forward to that. Had this COVID idea for a while now as well to get some great inspirational people like some of the people you've had on to come on my show and get some corporate partners that will be willing to pledge $1,000 to families who have lost a parent to the virus. So hoping to get that launched off as well. If you have anyone you want to send to my show, I'd appreciate that. And PSAs need to happen around sports as well about what's going on with racism. Athletes need to step up and make PSAs together and talk about those things. So all those things need to happen, and I'm hoping that they will.
I'm sure they will, if they haven't already happened in some form of fashion. But I'm sure it'll happen, more, especially coming up with all the things that's been happening. So, hey, great work. Appreciate you being on the show. And again, tell your father, happy Father's Day from the wards here in Tallahassee. Now, where you reside?
I am in Michigan, about a little bit away from Flint, near that area, and an hour away from Detroit. So in the Michigan area.
Are you a Wolverine or Spartan, or what are you?
Dad went to both. Aunt went to Michigan. Have some friends have gone to Michigan State. So I'll be completely honest. I was a fan of both. I have so much gear from both schools, and now I've covered a lot of Duke, North Carolina, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. So now I can't really say I'm a fan of any of those shows.
Well, we gotta get you down here to Tallahassee.
Yeah, I'd love to be down there. Cover some teams there.
Well, sounds good.
All right.
So
Happy Father's Day to you as well.
I appreciate it.
Take it
And
easy.
you have a great week.
Thank you. You too.
All righty. My man, Global Kid Media, he's impressive. Be 13, already